What's up, guys? It's Tater, and today we have a special video for you. We're going to talk about arm wrestling safety with a special guest, so stay tuned. All right, I'm here today with my brother Eric.
How's it going?
And we built this table about a year ago, and we put it to pretty good use so far. We've had several little family tournaments and practices and stuff on it. But so the sport of arm wrestling is a ton of fun, but at the same time, it's also a brutal sport. And it's very dangerous. So if you don't know how to do it properly, or you haven't been taught the proper techniques, serious injuries can occur. And my brother here, he knows the proper techniques, and he knows the safeties and the dangers of arm wrestling, and he still had an injury. So here in a second, I'm going to have him tell you about what happened with him and just what he had to go through to come back from that injury. Stay tuned.
How's it going, guys? What's happening? So done a lot of arm wrestling, pretty good at it with my right hand. My left arm I broke years ago, and I don't really arm wrestle with it all that much. But you can see I was arm wrestling my brother-in-law, and I was right here and got him into a press, and I don't know exactly what caused it. I don't know if I was in the wrong position or what, but when I went and I pressed as hard as I could, there was a snap. And what happened was this tendon, and you can actually see right here how my forearm is kind of shaped right there. I tore this tendon. And it was just, like I said, it was literally right here. And I don't know, maybe if I just turned the wrong way, pressed too hard in the wrong position or what, but it snapped this tendon. And it took me a solid, I don't know, probably 7-8 months, and I still have some pain in it, and it's been over a year now, almost. Yeah, it sucked. It cost me about $8 grand. It all depends on medical coverage and things like that, but arm wrestling is really fun, and I've always adored it. And it's really competitive, and it's just a fun thing to do. To link up with somebody and just have fun. But when you start really getting into it, and you try, and you actually, I guess, you get pretty good at it, or you get really strong, you have a lot of potential to hurt yourself, especially if you use it in the wrong way. But yeah, it's a fun sport though. That's definitely for sure. We built this table in my garage, went out and bought a bunch of raw materials and everything, and then I think this is the first time ever doing upholstery. So we did the upholstery on it, and on these could have came out a little bit better. Like these pads came out okay, but these ones right here, we could always redo them or whatever. And then just some nipples and caps and stuff for the grips works great. But yeah, that's pretty much it. I'll turn you over to Tater here.
All right, guys. So we're going to talk about the most dangerous position that you can get into in an arm wrestling match, and it's known as the broke arm position. There's a very good reason why it's called that. Typically, you break your arm if you get in this position, and it only takes about 18 pounds of pressure, which is easy to generate in an arm wrestling match because you're one-on-one with someone across the table, and you're both putting every ounce of strength you have into it. So the break arm position looks like this. I'll show you from my end, and then we'll show you from Eric's end. So basically, you're locked up, you're ready to go. And what a lot of guys do who aren't familiar with the sport and don't really know the ins and outs of it is they tend to want to turn away like this and go like that. Well, when you do this, you're disconnecting your shoulder from your torso here, and it puts a ton of strain on this bone, your humerus, which runs from your shoulder to your elbow. And trust me, it's not funny if you break it. And so you always want to be in a position to where when the match starts, you're looking at your hand. You're locked in here and doing everything you can, whether you're losing or not, to keep your shoulder inside of your body here. Because you get outside, and that's when the break can happen. So we'll show you from Eric's view here. If we were to go and see how he turns away like that, it only takes 18 pounds of pressure to break this arm. Even if he's stronger than me and he gets in that position and I get any kind of stoppage on him, that bone could snap, and then if you're competitive in the sport, you're out for months and months, however long it takes to heal up from that injury. And if you're not, then you could be in a situation where, you might not have insurance or anything, and then you're dealing with a huge financial burden and, a few months of not being able to use your arm. So You just want to make sure that at all costs, do not get into that position when arm wrestling. And if you're doing a tournament, the refs are going to notify you of that before the tournament starts, and they're going to be watching for that. So if they see someone get into that position, they'll just stop the match right there and have them, restart and, give them a warning like, hey, you need to not be doing that so you don't hurt yourself. All right, so now we're going to talk about just some basic tips for staying safe while arm wrestling. Number one, with any sport, you want to stay hydrated. I think the day that you got hurt, we were all drinking beer and stuff at a barbecue, and I don't think any of us stretched or anything like that. I kind of hurt my arm the same day too, not nearly as bad, but so you want to stay hydrated. It's better to not do this kind of thing when you're drinking, even though I know it's a popular time to do it. So that's number one. Number two is you want to stretch, and do some like light exercises with your practice partner here or whoever you're going up against. Like move your wrists around here. I call it the wobble. I don't know if there's a technical term, but you just get the blood flowing to those areas, and that will help prevent injury as well. And then you just kind of do some light pulling here where you get a little bit of a stretch in your arm, so you get that blood flow, you get the nutrients and everything flowing to that area. So that's super important. Another thing too is you never want to arm wrestle if you have an existing injury in that arm. It doesn't matter if you didn't get that injury from arm wrestling. If you have some kind of injury going on, you need to make sure that you get that healed up first. Do some rehabilitation exercises in that arm to help build up the strength and everything. Because chances are, even if you're practicing, a lot of times at practice, guys go pretty hard. You're going to just injure it worse or cause a very serious injury. So that's a huge no-no. I think my final tip would be is to get a practice partner that you trust, that's a good matchup for you, and that understands the safeties and the dangers of arm wrestling as well. Because if you're arm wrestling someone who doesn't know that, they could either hurt themselves or possibly hurt you in the process, and that's just something that you definitely don't want to deal with, especially if you're taking it seriously and you're trying to compete in tournaments and stuff like that. Is there anything else you can think of? Or?
I mean, if it feels like it's whenever you're going and, like after you've, taken all this proper safety concerns, whenever you're arm wrestling, just remember it's not worth it. I can tell you from experience, like if you feel like something's going to break or you just want to be a man about it and fucking power through it, like it's not worth it. And unless you're like rich and you got all the time in the world, you don't want to arm wrestle for a long time, and, I mean, whatever, and you're just like, screw it. But other than that, I mean, I was off of work. I had to wear this freaking robotic arm. I actually have some pictures I can give Nate, and he can maybe put in this video, and you can kind of see what that looked like. I had to have these expensive ass injections, and after my insurance covered like a bunch, I still had to pay $8,000 out of pocket. So if you didn't have insurance, that would have been like 30 grand. And that wasn't even a break, and sometimes tendons are actually worse than breaks. It just depends on how it is. Like this break that I have 2 titanium plates and 12 screws. It's not, that wasn't as bad as this, obviously, but some breaks will heal better. But yeah, it's not worth it. If you think that it's going to happen, or you're in a bad position, or you're just out of shape, or not experienced in it, and you go to put everything you have into it and you tear something, it's just be smart about it. Be safe.
Absolutely, yeah. You want to be able to enjoy the sport. You don't want to, especially your first time on the table, hurt yourself. And then a lot of guys end up doing that anyway because they're not trained, or they don't have anyone to show them the ropes, and then they end up just walking away from the sport because they got screwed up the first time. All right, guys, that's it for today's video. I hope you enjoyed it. Hope you learned something new. And if you're getting into the sport of arm wrestling, then just take the time, research it as much as you can, learn techniques, learn how to be safe with it. And it's a fun sport, and I hope if you do get into it that you enjoy it a lot. So I'd like to thank my brother Eric for helping me out to make this video. And make sure that you guys leave a like, subscribe, and hit the little bell button so you can get notified when I put any new videos out. So that's it for this one, and we'll see you in the next one. Peace out.